Hi everybody, welcome to the Field Practicum orientation videos. This is just a way for me to provide the information that you, both as students and as supervisors, will need to successfully carry out the Field Practicum process. This is an exciting time for the students, giving them a chance to get into the field and practice what they've learned in the classroom. And just a huge thank you to all of the supervisors and agencies who are willing to take our students. We couldn't obviously do this without you, but I'm always just amazed at the diversity we're able to get in different field practicum sites and just the different things the students learn and also teach me in the process. So this is always an exciting time of the year, exciting time of their education. So I'm not going to make these very long and painful, but I do want to make sure you have the information just to kind of get everybody out on the right track and on the right foot to have a successful semester. All right. So, like I said, just a huge thank you for everyone watching these, for engaging in the practicum process. Honestly, the investment that the agencies and supervisors give to our students, it's just so appreciated. There we go. Appreciated. Just taking time out of busy work schedules to be able to invest in the next wave of social workers is something that I really appreciate and I'm very, very grateful for. All right, so I am Kelly Hoffman. I am the Director of Field Practicum at Kuiper College. I'm also one of the faculty and advisor for students. So the students know me really well. Some of you supervisors I have met in the past. We've worked together before. There's some new agencies this year. So this is who I am. So when you see my name in documents or emails, now you can put a virtual face to the name, but I am kind of the go-to person at Kuiper for all internship questions and procedures, and hopefully no problems. So this is just the orientation. I don't know why I have the slide in here because it's kind of redundant. All right, so our social work program at Kuiper really goes off that generalist approach to social work education, where we're equipping the students with the skills to be able to work at any level of social work. So micro, macro, meso, even kind of the communities, global. All of the skills and information that the students learn can be translated to each of those different levels. And hopefully within the agencies they're at, they're going to be able to have some engagement with each system level, because I think that's really important for them to see how these skills and the knowledge and values that we have taught can actually be applied to every different system. So we really highlight the importance of the ecological systems perspective, so not looking at clients or individuals in a silo, but really looking at kind of that bigger picture of how their environments can influence behavior, and not just looking at the behavior as something that they're doing wrong or is problematic, but really looking at like, hey, maybe what's going on in the person's life that's impacting their functioning. Very empowerment focused, so not looking at that deficit base, like what's wrong with you, but really what can you bring to the table to achieve the goals that you that you want to achieve. A lot of that self-determination and identifying the strengths of the individual, which leads to number 3, is looking at strengths to combat any needs that individuals or families or groups, communities may identify. And really looking at the client as the expert, not us as the savior coming in to fix the world, but rather how can we already use what's in place to empower and strengthen clients and client systems. I already mentioned the multi-level approach, so obviously micro, meso, macro, global, we really look at all of those, and we really have that emphasis of evidence-based practice. We just can't go off gut feeling or how we believe things should be happening. We really we value research and evidence-based practice, which is something I really like to hound into students. So that's kind of the framework that students are coming in with, just kind of based out of that generalist social work practice. So as beginning social workers, we've kind of taught them a generalist social work practice model, and I don't know if you can, my screen is cutting it off, but we really have kind of coached students to look at client engagement through the sequential stages of like a problem-solving process. So engaging with the client or client system, kind of building that trust, that rapport, And along as they're doing that, they kind of transition into that data collection piece where we're getting that information. We're understanding the individual, their environments, kind of that whole biopsychosocial spiritual aspect. And then taking that data that's been collected to do an assessment to figure out, okay, what is going on with the client or client system that's causing some sort of discord or concerns or issues. That's where we start to identify the goals. We really emphasize making it client-centered, client-focused, not what we believe their goals should be. That leads to then implementing interventions to kind of help find those strengths, find ways to problem solve, ways to empower. Then we always look to evaluate how effective those interventions were. Did it really hit the goals? Did it really get them to where the client wanted to be? If not, where do we start over? Where do we intervene again? And then evaluating if it does show the outcome we want. Then we move to termination, where we end the relationship with clients in a healthy and productive way. So that is something that students are very familiar with. If not, I have not done my job well. But it's really helpful for them to kind of watch these stages kind of come into play while they're now working with actual clients and not the fictional case studies that I like to give them all the time. All right, so here's the practicum experience at Kuiper. I'm trying to move my face a little bit, but I might be covering it. So I think this is probably what people are looking for from these orientation materials is kind of logistics and the nitty gritty. So students have to complete 400 hours of the in-field experience. So for students who are doing their internships over the course of 2 semesters, 200 hours in the first semester, 200 hours in the second semester. For students who are doing block placements, that's 400 hours all in one semester. So for the 2-semester internships, it's about 12 to 15 hours per week. And then for block placements, about 24 to 30 hours. They do have reduced classes in seat to kind of accommodate the schedule to be able to get those hours in. I think an important thing to note for students who are doing 2 semesters is you cannot bank 300 hours first semester just to do 100 in second. It does have to be 200 and 200. It kind of emphasizes that learning over the span, you kind of learn through time, not just necessarily getting the actual clock hours in, but spending time and building those relationships that can be achieved through those 2 semesters. And we also really value that we have come into agreement that we will provide a student intern for the duration of September through April. And so we don't want to shortchange that as well. Yes, so those are tracked on a Google Sheet. I'll kind of go over that in the part 2 of this, but students are responsible for tracking their own hours. So the schedule, so we start the first day of classes September 2. Sometimes if students need to start a week or 2 early just to accommodate some orientation, we're very flexible. Obviously, you can see I did not update these dates from the Google presentation from last year, so I apologize about that. September 2024 to April 2025, I really forgot to update those. So there's no set schedule when students have to physically be in the internship space. It's kind of up to the individual and to the agency, kind of balancing when supervisors are going to be available, when students have classes or outside jobs. So one thing we do try to do is have no Kuiper classes on Wednesdays to be able to kind of give a whole day of a block of time for students so they're not coming in for 2 hours here, 2 hours there. So we do try to offer that to help. Students are allowed to do weekend and after hours, out of the traditional 8 to 5, as long as proper support and supervision are on site for the student. If your agency has some room for virtual hours, that is acceptable too, but we really try to primarily have students spend time physically in the building around other peers, around supervisors, so they're kind of getting that very hands-on interactions. So I went over the generalist practice before, but it does kind of highlight that we're able to do a wide variety of settings. This year we have individuals who are working in a community setting, schools with youth and refugees, So like it's over the whole spectrum, all multi-level. It's really cool then for the students to be able to hear from their peers during our field seminar class, kind of what they're doing and how the same material that was taught to all of them can be translated in very different ways. Supervision is a very important part. Students are required to be supervised by either an MSW or a BSW who has 2 years work experience in the field. I know that sometimes the day-to-day supervisor, who's like kind of the person they go to, who is physically there all the time, might not hold those degrees. And in those cases, we do need to make sure that they have supervision weekly with an MSW or the BSW. The MSW and the BSW does have to sign off on all documentation, so their timesheets and the learning contract. It's just important to make sure that we're covering that piece. If in the case that a supervisor leaves the agency during the duration of the internship and you guys don't have somebody with those degrees to be able to cover it, let me know and we will problem solve. But we do need to have that MSW or the BSW 2 years work experience. All right, so these are the different assignments that students will have to complete during their internship. They have the learning contract both for first semester and second semester. They will be doing an implicit bias training and reflection paper. They do a write-up on their agency to kind of look at kind of that macro piece of how agencies work, funding sources, board of directors, decision-making processes. Those are kind of those pieces that aren't necessarily direct individual work, but very, very important to the social work field. They have to do a reflection journal every week. They'll be presenting a case study, a research article, and a resource show and tell. In part 2, I'm going to go through these a little bit clearer. That's why I'm kind of buzzing through them. But those are kind of the expectations over as far as assignment-wise that they have to do on top of their hours. So there's different roles within the field practicum experience. We have the college, we have the practicum supervisor, we have myself, the director of field practicum, and the student. Kuiper College as a whole maintains the accredited social work program. We are in the middle of doing our accreditation. It's due in the spring, so that's super fun, but we're keeping the program accredited. We kind of help make sure the students that are coming into the program are a good fit, that this is what they want to do. We will provide the professional liability insurance for the college faculty and the student while in practicum. And then we just give support to students kind of as they navigate the process and kind of their education as a whole. So the practicum supervisor is the person from the agency who is providing the direct supervision. So we're looking for you to be able to give them orientation to the agency, kind of make sure they get acclimated, have a space, they know the safety protocols, engage the student in purposeful supervision. So making sure that like they're processing and understanding why we're doing what we're doing, helping them problem solve around difficult client interactions, learning how to celebrate when clients do something well, having those boundaries, being aware of transference, countertransference, all those pieces that come into play when you're in the field. Making sure that they have meaningful tasks to meet both the agency's objectives and the student objectives. Really looking for a wide variety of opportunities for students, so not just making phone calls, doing research on resources, but trying to figure out ways for our students to interact with clients and get that hands-on experience. And so kind of helping them take what they've learned in the classroom and apply it into practical and field situations. The learning contract will really help guide that. But just encourage the students to participate in the constructive criticism, both positive and negative, because I think that's a huge professional development skill that will need to be taken into the workforce, is that we're not always going to do the job perfect. And it's okay to be told that we didn't do it perfect, but then being able to take and receive that in a way that's productive and not self-deprecating or self-defeating. Learning how to celebrate what we're doing well, but also looking how to grow to become a more effective social worker. I'm going to end here and finish on part 2. We'll go over kind of what my role is, what the student's role, and then go over assignments and timesheets in part 2.